iOS 18.4 is officially available. So here are the 15 biggest new features in the update, including new emojis, new ways to trigger visual intelligence, and it gets added to the 15 Pro, Apple News plus food with recipes, new filters in the Photos app, ambient music, and more. First, you now have new ways of getting to visual intelligence. Only a long press on camera control on an iPhone 16 would get you visual intelligence, but now there's actually a shortcut you can add to the control center, and that jumps you into visual intelligence. If you want to add that, just tap and hold on the control center. You can have this on your first page or later pages. Search for visual, and you'll see it under the Apple Intelligence and Siri section. You can also program visual intelligence to be triggered with the action button, and this also applies to the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. Of course, I typically keep it on a shortcut, my skip forward 3 minutes shortcut, but if you scroll over, you'll see visual intelligence is now an option, so you can trigger it both with the camera control and the action button on 15 Pro and 16 models. Also in the control center, you'll find new controls for ambient music. You can search for ambient and you'll see several options with different moods. So I can add productivity here to the control center. Now when you tap that in the control center, it will start playing in the background. Tap it again to turn it off. And if you go back into edit mode, you can tap on these ambient music controls and then actually choose a specific playlist that you want this to trigger. That also includes random playlists from your library. So if you're just looking for a control center widget to play a playlist, you can do that too. You'll also find new ambient playlists in Apple Music, like this ambient sleep playlist. You'll see it was actually updated 2 weeks ago. Nice animation on top. So you can add these playlists to your Apple Music library if you'd like. Number 3, there's a new prioritize notifications option here in settings. If you go down to notifications, and this is an Apple Intelligence feature, so you'll need a 15 Pro or 16 for this feature, but on top of summarize notifications, there's now prioritize. If you toggle this on, you actually manually choose which apps you would like to show up at the top of the lock screen or notification center. When you do get notifications from the apps that you specify, you'll see that it's a priority notification and it will be shown above any other notifications you may have. Number 4, we have new emojis in 18.4. I'll go into light mode just for a second, but here we have bags under eyes, fingerprint, leafless tree, root vegetable, harp, shovel, and splatter. So not only do we have new emojis, but if you're into the Genmojis and you have Apple Intelligence, now when you tap the emoji keyboard here in messages, you'll see a new Genmoji button. They've made it larger and it actually says Genmoji, so it's a little more obvious for people who might not know it's there. Number 5, Apple News Plus now has a food and recipes section. If you go over to the following, you can go to food, and here you can go to the recipe catalog, browse by category like time or type. Let's go to the easy catalog. That's more my style. And once you find a recipe you like, you can tap the 3 dots and save this recipe or read the full story, copy, or even share it. And as you save recipes, now when you go back to the food homepage, you can go to the saved recipes and you'll see them here. Now the recipes really do have a nice design, has a breakout for ingredients and the steps, and whenever there's a time instruction in the recipe, like 15 to 17 minutes, you can actually tap that and start a timer right here while you're reading the recipe. You can also tap the cook button right here, and that'll kind of go into a reader mode for recipes. Makes things larger. You can switch between ingredients and directions, and those timers that you have to set will be bold and you can tap it to start a new timer. Number 6, if you use the stock Apple Podcasts app, which, listen, I go back and forth between that and Pocket Cast, there are now new widgets in addition to the Up Next, which just shows whatever episode is in your Up Next queue. If you scroll over, you'll see a library widget and you'll also see a shows widget. For the shows widget, you can choose a specific podcast and it will always show that show. Or if you add the library widget, you can go in to edit the widget and then you can choose from your latest episodes, saved episodes, or one of your custom stations to show here in the widget. I actually operate from the latest episodes section in my library. I find that the closest to a queue like in Pocket Casts, so I might do that. And then this widget is the show widget, and it looks exactly the same because it's Primary Technology. We just released a new episode. Subscribe above, new show every Thursday. And here you can choose a specific show in your library to always display on that widget. Did I mention when you listen to Primary Technology, you get custom chapter artwork with every episode? Plus you get nice custom episode artwork. You should really just subscribe and listen. Links are below in the description. Number 7, if you have Apple Intelligence and the Image Playgrounds app, there's a new sketch style in addition to the other wild AI-generated options you have. So you can choose a picture of yourself maybe, or ask it to generate something. Before we had animation and illustration, but now there's a third option, so you can choose sketch, and let's see what it does. Honestly, not bad. Let me see if it'll generate me riding a polar bear. It looks more like the polar bear is riding on my shoulder. No polar bear, tiny polar bear, ominous polar bear. Well, we tried. Number 8, there's now a dedicated Apple Vision Pro app. similar to the Apple Watch app, but much less feature-packed. Here you can kind of browse some of the new content that might be available on Apple Vision Pro, things like Spatial Gallery, which is new in visionOS 2.4, and if there's a piece of content that you'd like to add to the watch list, you can do that from the Apple Vision Pro app. What's even more useful is if you want to download applications to Apple Vision Pro, you can start that process here on your iPhone. I don't know what the J.Crew app is, but you can choose to start downloading it, hit continue, and then that app will be on your Apple Vision Pro, hopefully the next time you put it on, if it's not dead. You can also start a guest session from the iPhone, which should make sharing Apple Vision Pro and showing your friends and family way easier. Number 9, there are new filters when you need to find something in your photo library. So here we are in the Photos app, still not totally sold on the new design, but if you go down to Filter, in addition to screenshots and other things, you now have a Shared with You and Not in an Album. If you go to the Shared with You, it'll just show you photos that people have texted or shared with you. That's pretty nice. And then you can use the other filter to show photos not currently in an album. Number 10, you can actually choose a new default Translate app here on the iPhone. Here in Settings, scroll all the way down to where you see Apps. Then you'll see the Default Apps option here, which previously you were able to set default email, web browsing, and even default password apps. Well, a new addition here is Translate. By default, it's going to use the built-in Translate app, but if you install other options, they should be available here. And for the last few small features, if you go to Safari, there's a new Connection Security Details page. If you tap this icon and then go to the 3 dots, you now see Connection Security Details, and that shows you the security certificate for that website. Number 12, mail categories came to iPhone with iOS 18. Remember, you can turn those off by tapping the 3 dots at the top and just going to List View rather than Categories. That's how I keep it by default. But if you like those categories, they're now available in iPadOS 18.4 and macOS 15.4. And some tiny detail changes in certain drop-down menus, like for focus mode. Rather than having no distinction, there's like tiny little arrows there now, and that shows that there are other options behind that menu or button choice. Number 14, you can now pause app downloads. Before, you basically just had to stop if something was downloading, but now once you start downloading an app, it's hard to catch. Oh, I didn't catch it. Let's try a bigger game here. I'll download the app, and once it starts, you can now tap it, and it will pause the download. Now you'll see a resume button, and you can resume downloading it here. If you wanted to cancel it, I'm not quite sure what to do. I guess I'll just leave it paused, and we'll see what happens. And finally, for the tiniest of details, the little volume slider here, when you raise the volume past the speaker icon, it now turns blue, and then it goes to white when you drop it below that. Amazing. So those are the big changes in 18.4. If you were interested in visionOS 2.4, which now brings Apple Intelligence, writing tools, and more to the Apple Vision Pro, let me know down in the comments, or just comment with the favorite new emoji that you might have in 18.4. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button before you go. Lots of videos covering the software updates. WWDC was announced, and I'll be covering all the iOS 19 news once that comes out. And again, I have a technology podcast, comes out every Thursday with my co-host Jason Aten. You can subscribe to that channel right here, or links to Apple Podcasts and Spotify are down in the description. And YouTube really thinks you'll love this video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.